was there.
Yeah, but the things you just shared with us, it would have been nice to know, because if it gets out into the street that you've lost 2 or 3 people, as a board, we should know that before it gets to the street, that we're replacing
That's why
people or...
That's why they put in there, approved by the board first.
If she knows, then she knows everything that's going on. We should be informed of that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, the register will reflect that, and if there's something drastic, Ms. Genevieve, if something drastic happens where you feel that we should be notified, please notify.
Thank you.
Can I say something, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a little perturbed, not too much to where I'm going to sit up here and clown or anything like that, but we discussed this. From day one,
Trustee Smith.
I just want to make a point
Okay.
to my fellow trustees. From day one, she came in, and I hate to use the word like this, she came in with a vengeance, and not in a bad way, but she knew what to do, she knew when to do it, and she knew how to do it. She knew how to move in a different direction so that we would not be stuck in the same rut with the Dorchester that we had been stuck in for years, almost a decade. Now, she came in doing what she was supposed to do, and from day one, I've received phone calls. Trustee Hilliard has received phone calls, and the majority of the phone calls have come from people who would like for it to stay just the way it is. And that is not something we are trying to do. I have been behind you wholeheartedly, and I will remain behind you. We've had conversations on what you need to do. You are an employer. You have your own business. You know what to do with employees who don't do what they're supposed to do. 2 calls, no call, no shows. There's automatically, you're out of the door. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they don't like it, give them my number, and I'll tell them that I told you to fire them. Okay? If we are going to do something and do it better than we did before, sometimes it's going to hurt. Okay? You have to break an egg to make an omelet. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I do thank you. It's been rocky, but it'll be okay, because a lot of this is just personal. And I have no problem with handling personal.
Thank you, Trustee Smith.
You're so welcome.
Okay. All right.
And the clerk may want a motion to approve the amended agreement with the 2 changes mentioned. Yeah, go ahead.
I make a motion that we accept the extension of the management contract for the Dorchester with Awakened Alternatives with the following provisions. Hereby amended by extending the term thereof to and include January 31, 2015. That was in section 1. And section 2, the creation of any new positions and the purchase of supplies and equipment of a cost at a cost no greater than $2,500.
Without board approval.
Without board approval.
I have a question. We had originally a motion to approve. Now we're amending it.
So let's, that'll supersede it.
So do we withdraw the original
I
motion?
don't think you need to, I think just,
Because I missed it.
right. See if we got a second on that.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. We're done with the discussion on this. The motion and approve, and seconded, I should say, to approve the amendments as read by Trustee Smith and the village attorney. Roll call.
Trustee Vandell.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Hunt.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
No.
Okay. Bye-bye. 1 no. Motion carries with the additional or adjusted amendments to that motion. Okay. Mr. Irvin.
Old business would be the next topic, and under old business, we actually have 2, A and B. We'll start with A. There'll be presentations by two different firms, one Bud's Ambulance Service / Dailies, and two Kurt's. Both of them are in the ambulance transportation business as well as the 911 dispatch business. I put together a very basic spreadsheet that I dispersed to you this evening, as well as it was sent out electronically a few days ago, showing you some comparisons that jumped out at me after I read through the documents that were provided. This evening, I have to underline, so everybody knows, this is just a presentation. Both firms are here to give their presentations. They'll each get 15 minutes. I would ask for the chief to keep track of time, since he's a good timekeeper. Questions will be allowed, but there is no decision. This is a very important matter. This will take at least one, if not two more meetings before anything can come to a head. With that, I think that we will start with the company called Kurt's. They are out of New Lenox, and Bud's is the hometown boys. I will turn it over to the Kurt's and let them start. You have 15 minutes, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Before we start, Mr. Irvin,
Yes.
why don't you give us a little history about why it was old business and where we are today? Why it's on the agenda, how it got on the agenda?
This is on the agenda because of the fact that it has been for several months discussed about several options of one, moving the 911 dispatch to Bud's Dailies home office in Dolton. There was also a presentation brought forward by the fire chief of an outside company coming in and managing it and doing build-out within our own facility. There's been many changes since that point, and the fact that now we'll be moving into a new village hall, which is more conducive to hosting the center. It's been a topic of discussion for quite some time. The reason that I think there is some urgency to this is the fact that the equipment in the 911 dispatch center, literally, I don't even want to say it, could blow up right now. It's that old. I think both firms have looked at the equipment. Bud's people have worked with it for at least 5 or 6 years, 7 years maybe, I'm not even sure, but 10 years, whatever it is, it's ready to blow up. We have to make a decision. We have to move our 911 dispatch center for two reasons. One, we can't even find parts anymore for what we have. Number two, there can and will be a cost savings because of what's referred to as the generation, help me gentlemen, generation switch. The switch that will generate anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 a year in revenue. The switch should have been put in years ago, but it wasn't. So there are a magnitude of reasons. I put on there also the fact of the dispatch, the ambulance service. We need to keep looking at all of our contractual agreements. Where can we get the best bang for our buck? I am not leaning towards one or the other. I gather information for the board. I disseminate it to the board. I'll be happy to answer questions. But it's up to the board ultimately to decide what they want to do with any and all contractual agreements, not only this one, but any of them. Hopefully that answers your question there.
And we just wanted to provide some of this for our president's office in regards to.
I'll be back.
Okay.
I promise.
All right. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, board members. First of all, I'd like to just do a brief introduction. I'm Tom Vanna. I'm the president and CEO of Kurt's and all our related entities. Mr. Kurtz and Mrs. Kurtz are my stepfather and mother who founded our company in 1977 for the provision of private ambulance services within our geographic area. Today, we've grown our company to over 700 employees. We not only operate now a private ambulance service, we operate hospital-based programs, we operate and staff 28 municipal fire departments, and we operate and staff 9 industrial sites. Recently, we just received a contract for the Volkswagen plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Additionally, we've now branched out into municipal dispatching. We currently do that for 2 communities, and recently we're just notified that we are awarded the Calumet Park contract for the new dispatch center opening in the spring of 2015. And we'll come back to that in just a little bit to talk about that. Ed, if you would. Sorry, I apologize that we can't have everybody see the PowerPoints. This just shows here a little bit about the locations throughout the Chicagoland on our private ambulance. The next slide will show you the Kurtz customers as far as municipal dispatch or municipal response, which is on the left, and then our industrial sites. You'll see that we span 6 different states, and that is the other PowerPoint slide there. So what is it that we offer? A number of, I don't know, weeks ago, I guess it was, maybe months, we were working with Calumet Park in regards to working out a dispatch program with them. One of our, I guess you could say another vendor friend of ours had the opportunity to visit with you folks about fire recovery and fire billing, things of that nature, and there was some discussion about dispatch and upgrading, and so we contacted the village to see if perhaps you might be interested in looking at some of the options we have. So the things that we do are essentially EMS programs and dispatching services, and that's what we're presenting here today. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go ahead and read all that, but I would like to just go ahead and we'll present that to you later. So if we could. So there were a couple of proposals that were asked to be provided today. The first one was dispatch services. The city asked us to provide staffing and equipment for a new dispatch center, as well as an option 2 to partner or to come up with an optional option for dispatch services, which with us, that is to partner with another dispatch center that we work with, and that would be the new Calumet Park Center. The other option was to provide dedicated ambulance service to the village of Dolton. So if we look at, so one of the things that we do with dispatch services is that all of our dispatch services will always include licensed emergency medical dispatchers. Currently, I'm not sure how many are, but I was told in the information process that not all of your dispatchers are EMDs and capable of giving pre-arrival instructions. That is, I guess, a base certification that we must provide in each of our dispatch centers. And in addition to that, we're currently doing a testing with the Lincoln Way Dispatch Center for new dispatchers for Calumet Park, which is inclusive of police and fire for New Lenox, Mokina, Frankfort, Manhattan, as well as East Joliet Fire Department. So, if you will. So the first option that we looked at is to staff the village's new dispatch center with 8 FTEs with a supervisor, or upgrade to 9 FTEs, full-time employees, with a daytime dedicated supervisor during the peak hours. For that service with the 8 FTEs, it would be $565,000 annually. And for the 9, we'll come back to in just a moment. The village, as far as the equipment would be, Motorola has not given final quotes yet as regards to all of the pricing of all the materials and equipment. Appears to be somewhere around $700,000, not inclusive of the build out. We would obviously go ahead and lease to own the equipment if you so wish for us to do so. So in other words, you wouldn't have to produce that capital outlay. We would, and then you would have the ability to pay us back over time. Okay, so that would be a fully staffed, ready to go dispatch center. Okay. The option 2, which is to move the village, instead of expending that $700,000 in capital, as well as the build-out cost, would be to move your dispatch center to the village of Calumet Park's new dispatch center. This would alleviate the need for capital spending. It would require less management and oversight, and the cost would continue to decrease as we went ahead and added additional municipalities, fire departments, police departments, so on and so forth. And you can still collect that revenue. So that $100,000 or $150,000 you're missing because of the switch that's going to the state police now would now come to you. Okay. The cost of that $612,000 annually. Why they think this might be a viable option is obviously because of the capital outlay. It's a completely brand-new, state-of-the-art facility, all brand-new, state-of-the-art equipment, and so you're not going ahead and having to pay for that. The other thing that you have to think about too is not only is there the capital outlay, but there's also the maintenance costs that go along with that on an annualized basis. So over that 5 years, the one cost you're not going to see, based upon the RFPs, is what is this equipment going to cost to maintain long-term? And then when the equipment does become outdated, you know, who is going to pay the capital then to go ahead and to upgrade the equipment? The exact same problem you have now. So I think this is an interesting option for you, and it makes sense. The ambulance program. Now, currently you have an ambulance program whereby resources are shared amongst communities. I believe that there's 13 communities that the current vendor serves, and I could be wrong, it may be more or less, but I believe it's somewhere around there. So the resources are shared. Our program or our idea is a little bit different than that. We don't share resources. What our program and the funding that you're going to see up here is to dedicate those vehicles and those personnel to the village of Dolton only, nobody else. They'll be stationed within the village. They'll bear village employees' names on their uniforms. The vehicles, as you can see, we did a mock-up here. We'll show you that it'll be a Village of Dolton ambulance. I'm going to say it was in September, we took over the Village of Tinley Park. And we did it with 5 ambulances for the community. And we have now, since then, they're all managed and labeled with the Village of Tinley Park. We've increased their MABUS participation to include providing ambulances to the near or the surrounding communities. And in fact, to date, the Village of Tinley Park / Kurtz EMS has provided more mutual aid to communities outside than we have received back into the community. In fact, the mayor has a little iPad through GPS, and he can look and see where his 5 ambulances are at any given time. So their EMS director sees that. So the idea about this is a complete transparency. You know where the ambulances are, where they're coming, where they're going. Are they on a call? Are they not on a call? And they, you know, and that provides for, I believe, a really good quality of care and visibility to the community. Ed? So some would say, Tom, how did you come up with an idea of how many ambulances would be necessary? So what we did is we took the Tinley Park EMS ambulances and we marched out the utilization per ambulance. And so what we're finding is that number of responses is about 4.5 per EMS unit, and that the number of transports per unit is about 3 transports per ambulance. So we made 2 presentations here. We proposed 2 24-hour-a-day cars, and we proposed 2 24-hour-a-day cars and a 12-hour-a-day car. So basically 2.5 full-time ambulances. And if you look, the numbers with 3, based on the numbers that we have been provided by the fire department, is that 4.5 is going to be approximately, the 3 units would be approximately the exact identical utilization per ambulance as in Tinley. So, but again, the question, can we back down to 2? Probably, but that's certainly a choice to be made by you as a board. The pricing, as you can see here, we did 2 pricing structures, and the reason we did so is that we received information from Chief Hughes in regards to the total number of transports and EMS runs, and then we also later received numbers from your current vendor, and there was a sizable gap between those 2 numbers as presented to us. So what we did is we said to you folks is let's give you a best and worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is the top numbers. So 2 ambulances would cost that plus billing, the $290 plus billing, or $590 plus billing, okay? We believe that if indeed the numbers are correct from the Firehouse software, that there is probably another $113,000 in collections, which would reduce the projected price to the community of $182 or $482. Now let me mention it. When we were given the numbers in Tinley, we had that same disparity. So what we did is that we did a worst case scenario like this, and we projected about $1.6 million in collections. We're on track to do $1.8 million in collections. So not only do we save the village 21%, give them dedicated EMS, but we're probably going to reduce their subsidy by another $200,000, thus probably pushing the savings to 25 to 30%. So this is the rationale. If you look at the top, the number of responses, that is provided on Dolton's Firehouse software. And then the second line, you can see the difference, is the current vendor number of transports that was provided. So what I did is I contacted our medical billing company that we work very close with. They serve about 180 communities throughout tri-state area. And these are the 4 that he has similar that are close to you. Calumet City is collecting basically about $253 an ambulance call. Cal Park is $235. South Chicago Heights $229, and Midlothian $328. So what I did for these projections when I was putting it all out there, I projected $235 a transport. So that's how I came up with those receivable dollars amount on the previous slide. Just so you know, I'm using some data and some rationale to get that. So some of the things that we do is that I believe that we are really instrumental in helping to establish ambulance and EMS programs. It's not a cookie cutter approach that we take. We go ahead and we provide you complete transparency. So every month, and I use Tinley because it's close by, they get a number of transports that we run, number of calls that we run, number of dollars billed, and they get a total of dollars collected, and then they have a budget from us, the total number of dollars that we told them that it was going to cost. And each year, they get to look at that, okay? And they get to see exactly what our profit is. We don't hide anything from them. And so at the end of the year, if I tell them I needed $500,000 to do it, and we collect $200,000 extra, that means they get a credit of, you know, that remaining amount. So there's no disparity, there's no hiding what is and what is not done. You get complete reports every month, and you know exactly what we're doing. You also have complete oversight of the program. So if there are folks that, you know, you don't feel are a good fit, we can go ahead and transfer, relocate, bring them into our private ambulance elsewhere. Your staff will have oversight as to who is hired, not only from the perspective of dispatching, but that of EMS too, if you select us for that. As I said, one of the things that we do, when you're going to get your dispatchers, there is a national examination that they're given and scored, kind of like you do for your police and fire, before they're even given a position or a job. And that's what I was telling you about with Lincoln Way area dispatch we're doing. And then not to mention backgrounds and all the traditional. But we weed out hopefully any potential problems that we might have from an employment perspective. So anyway, I think one of the things we're good at is helping you to achieve future ideas, plans, to continue to develop the program, additional ways to go ahead and find new revenue sources for you, whether that be through medical billing or whether, and I think Chief, you spoke with Andre's Medical already about fire recovery, billing for fire responses and things of that nature that insurance companies will pay for. So we don't want to look at it as a traditional vendor relationship. We want to look at it more as a partnership with your community. So I hope I got that in 15 minutes.
Yes,
I know I was talking fast. So with that, I'd like to, if there are any questions, I'm happy to go ahead and to answer them for you. A lot of information in a short time, and you'll see our whole listing of references, if you will, for staffing, hospitals, dispatching, and industrial sites, and feel free to call anyone.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
With the ambulance, I'd rather feel safe than sorry. Should I use the figure of $482,000 as that's the most your ambulance service would cost us?
For the 3 ambulances, yes, sir. But remember now, that's dedicated. That's not being shared amongst any other communities. So, and I guess the idea being is that your current system allows those vehicles to be shared amongst the 13 communities, okay? What we're proposing is to have 3 that are sitting here in town with your name on them, wearing your uniforms with your complete oversight, and dedicated only to the village of Dolton. So it's not shared with a neighboring community or, you know, so on and so forth.
Because I think right now it's our current for ambulance is 195,000. So to get the share cost, we have to pay extra, close to $300,000.
Well, yes, but now our dispatch, I believe, is significantly less. So I think if you look at it as a package, I think that the numbers are a lot closer than you just thought. And remember, these are worst-case scenarios, sir. So with respect to the billing, we're working off of numbers that we don't know. So obviously, those numbers are in my favor or for my safety. If they come out different, the great part is that and we don't do our own billing. We have an outside third-party agency that does it. You get a monthly report just like Tinley. So if I say that I'm going to collect $400,000 and I collect $500,000, that goes down another $100,000.
And where did you get the 4,100 responses from?
The top line is provided by Firehouse. We did a year-to-date and marched it out for an annual amount. And then I think we got those in
But that's
mid-October.
That is 4,100 calls by the fire department. That is not 4,100 ambulances.
No. That's what we're talking about. The transports is about 2,870, Chief.
And
No, that's total responses. That's fire, EMS, that's the whole shooting match, like you said.
It's not that high. No, we do not transport 2,800 times.
Well, and like I said, that's best case scenario. So what I did is please go back to the other one. So what we did is if you look here, we used the responses as provided by your current vendor as the second one. And that's down to 2,366 responses as reported by your current vendor.
We're not even there.
Oh, so your figures are based on...
It's annualized, Chief. It was giving us the year-to-dates. We divided it from the number of days and marched it out to 365 days.
The number of transports that was provided to you by Buds, because we don't know who transports, was only 1,900.
That was as of October, sir.
Okay, so one more month, we didn't transport almost 500 more times.
It's a projection over a 12-month period, sir.
Understandably. Well, I'm going to let Buds make their presentation.
Chief,
Yes.
this is
I mean, I could do a 10-month projection if you prefer.
this presentation, we go into details.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I'm sorry, one more question.
Wait, hold on.
Tinley, versus what we're doing, what made them have 5 ambulances? I mean, what's their population compared to
They're about 55, 60,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have a lot larger volume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do you have another question, trustee Hunt?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I could just add at this point, I believe it was under option 2, under dispatch, Kurtz was talking about Kell Park. Today I received an unsolicited phone call from the Kell Park administrator, Mary, who I've never met before in my life, but seems like a nice lady, inviting me to meet with her to say that the price that they gave to Kurtz was negotiable. And she left it at that. She said that she would like to offer the opportunity that the mayors get together and the administrators get together, that they would love to do business with Dolton. I just want to throw that in so everybody knows. The next presenter is Buds, and I would, unless there's a question, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take control. Buds, come on up.
Good evening. My name's Jack Daly. I'm the president and CEO of Bud's Ambulance, also Daly's Medical Transport's our corporate name. We've been in the family, my Daly family, starting with my father after he came out of the war in 1950, opened the first ambulance company with the Daly's name on it. And he was the first one to start an actual private ambulance in the South Suburban area. Prior to that time, everybody was operating funeral homes, ambulances when they were available, where people were being taken to the hospital by cars. He was a foreman, he fought in the Korean War, he knew what it was to deliver quality EMS, and he thought that ambulances were the perfect thing for this area, as they were lacking. This is Tom Wappel. He's my business partner, and he's our executive vice president for the company. We have several employees in the house tonight that have been part of our company for 20, 30 years. I have my oldest daughter, Natalie, who's an operations manager with the company, my daughter, Laura, who does marketing and customer service. We have Cherie Gilson from the dispatch center in the back. I have my youngest daughter here, Erica, who just completed her paramedic training and is waiting for her state licensure. And I have Ron Robertson, who's our director of operations and who's been with us for over 30 years as well. Both Ron and I are graduates of the 1975 class at Thornridge High School. We grew up and lived in this town, and we know everything about this community. Every street and alley, and probably some things we shouldn't have known when we were that age. Although Ron looks a little older than me, I don't know why. Maybe he stayed behind a couple of years. I'm glad we finally get the opportunity to address the board as a whole and explain to us who we are. We're a company that's called Dolton our home for over the past 40 years. We originally had our first office and major garage facility at 123 Sibley, and then in 1995 we were able to negotiate a deal with School District 149, a private landholder over by 156th and Clyde in the unincorporated Cook County area, and the Village of Dolton to buy the piece of property from the School District 149 and allow them to build that school where the new school is now, back off of Clyde Avenue. And we erected our facility. That facility has the ability to hold about 75 vehicles. It has 4 mechanics bays. It has storage facilities. It has dispatch. It has communications now for our existing company. In 2005, we were approached by the village when they were having problems with dispatch and staffing and asked if we'd be interested in manning their dispatch center since we did dispatch work. It was part of that original plan that we had with the village to move dispatch to our facility. We started building the infrastructure on our property for gas generators, uninterrupted power supplies, radio antennas, radio lines, coax. We even worked out a deal with Ameritech where we were able to get phone lines that came from the east and from the west. So in the event of a catastrophic failure, phone lines would never go down completely. If a line got knocked down on Lincoln Avenue, the center wouldn't go out, our service wouldn't go out. Calls automatically get rerouted and come back in through the east side back into the building. We have underground, we have fiber, and we have overhead lines that come into our facility. Our building is right for this, and this is something we wanted to do. And as I've mentioned to a few of you in the past, as well as you, Mayor, when we had our meeting with the fire chiefs and police chiefs and Stan Urban, that this is something we're prepared to do, and we know we could save the village a lot of money by getting this into our building. All of my staff employed for me are EMD certified. Maybe not everybody who answers the 911 call is an EMD certified person in the room, but if it's a medical emergency, those calls are automatically transferred to the Bud's ambulance staff, where pre-arrival directions are given at all times, and paramedics are being updated as we respond to the call of the condition of the patient, since we're the ones that are going to deal with the patients from the ambulance. Like I said, Dolton is our home. It's been our home for over 40 years. We employ over 180 individuals that come in and out of our building in Dolton. Those are people that spend tax dollars here, buy groceries here, buy gas here. Dunkin' Donuts probably be out of business if we weren't here, because I know they get there quite a bit every day. We talked about the cost of these centers, and we're going to touch on those in just a minute, but last month, as I even indicated to you in an email to everybody on the board and to Mr. Urban, that when you made an authorization and appropriation to buy a 911 switch, that it wasn't necessary. That I was able to get that switch to allow you to capture that revenue at no cost. It was going to cost the village of Dolton nothing, and within a short period of time, once the switch is up and running, about 90 days, according to the Illinois State Commerce Commission, you would receive an excess of $10,000 per month of 911 funds. And again, this is something we've been trying to push for years. The past administrations said we could do it. Every time we wanted to do it, the people that were in the control in the village operationally were always able to block us in the ability to move this to our facility. In the meantime, we continue to put the infrastructure in our facility to handle this. What we're going to offer today in the dispatch solution to you guys is a one-stop shop. One number you pay for nothing else. We maintain the equipment. We own the equipment. We have any service on the lines. You have one price, and that's all. Anybody else wants to join our center and come in, and there's been a lot of interest, but that interest is getting our center up and running for those people that come to us. We've actively been talking to 6 other communities about coming into a consolidated center. that would be formed what's called a joint ESTB, or emergency medical, or emergency telephone service board for the 911 center, of which Dalton would see all the revenues that are gonna come into that center. Everything would pour through that back to us. Of course, there'd be a percentage of that if we partner with the Village of Dalton to add that, to drive your costs down even further. The 911 surcharge money is currently going to the Illinois State Police. Again, this is probably $80,000, $90,000 at least a year, 8 years ago, up to $120,000 a year now that comes here. And what that means, is what that charge is today people have less home-based telephones. On your phone bill, when you get a phone, it says on your telephone bill, 911 surcharge. On your cell phone bill, you have the same thing. But because Dalton's technology is so old and fragile, it can't interpret the cellular data. So it has to go to the state police and get rerouted back to us, so therefore, the state police gets the revenue. That's money that can come right back to the town, it's real money, and it will come right back to your STB board. It will help offset the price that you pay us for the price of doing business. Tom, what's our price for the, putting it in our building, which we believe by all means is the best option?
The price is $595,200 per year. That includes everything.
You no build out, no buyout, no switches, you don't spend the $150,000 you approved, nothing, it's done, and we take care of everything.
Is that included with the 80 or 90,000, or would that come to, would we get that on top?
It goes to you, that's not our
That's not
money.
included in this 596, we will still have the right.
Yeah, and you don't pay us any more for that, you just get to use that to help offset what you're paying us already. That's 911 money. I don't know what the actual revenue is you collect on existing 911, but today there's more cell phones in people's homes than there are land phones. People are more and more cellular, multiple lines, family plans, that's 3 sets of taxes, not a family plan that goes to somebody's phone. And then the second proposal Mr. Urban asked us to put together was a full build out with the ability to finance your new city hall and put a center in your basement. And that is also in your packet, and those numbers were in there.
$700,800, and that's with a 5-year contract, okay? Because that's the leasing that we're going to be paying for, so that's what it's going to take to.
All the equipment, again, would be financed by us, would be put in. You pay one price, we take care of the dispatchers, we take care of the equipment. We sign the service maintenance agreements. There's only a few things we can't do by law if it's a municipally operated center. Some of the things you'd have to pay the 911 phone bills and things like that, but those are minimal to the grand scheme of, they're pennies on the dollar compared to what we're talking about today. So we don't, I'm sorry. Okay. So now we can talk about the 911 and questions and answers, but I want to address the ambulance. You heard a lot of things, saw some nice slide presentations. I asked Mr. Urban if they had the ability here to put that equipment up. He said they didn't, that we could bring our own. And I thought, what a better way than just talk about us. You see, I'm wearing a uniform. I'm a paramedic. I've been a paramedic since 1976. I grew up around here. I know every street and alley in this town. The people that work here, this is the 3rd generation of people, my family, that do this line of work and take care of this community. We have been committed since the first paramedic program. Dolton was the first city to offer paramedic service to its residents through our company in 1974. We have become the largest privately owned ambulance serving the South Cook County EMS system with primary response 911 work. Our 15 paramedic units, and we talked about shared resources, sharing with other towns as opposed to dedicated in town. Those 15 paramedic units do almost 33% of the 90 or so paramedic units licensed in the system. That's the volume of work that we do. We're very efficient. We don't miss calls. We guarantee Dalton 2 ambulances on every call, but is what having us as the hometown boys, as somebody said, is, yeah, that's a great thing because I'm a paramedic, Tom's a paramedic, my daughters are paramedics, our marketing department's paramedics, our dispatchers are paramedics, our operations managers paramedics. When they call and hit the buzzer in the building and say, I got a 3rd Dalton medical run, there ain't a question. There's 5 of us running for the door. Who's going to get in the ambulance first? Chief Hughes knows. He sees me on calls. Probably sometimes doesn't like to see me on calls because when he's there and I'm there, it's generally not a good situation for work-wise. But they do it. Chief Franklin's seen me. I've supported the police department in many other ways over the years too. And the mayor, you know my involvement with the police department, and Chief Franklin, my involvement with the police department. We know that we handle all the calls. I've been on scenes of 6 ambulances within 10 minutes for a shooting in front of Mr. Ricky's one night before that place was shuttered and closed as it should be, amen. But those are types of things we do with no problem. When the fire department has a fire, we're there. The fire department has a hazardous material, we're there. If we have special event standbys, we cover National Night Out, 4th of July, health fairs, public service, education, speaking in the grade schools. We have an Andy the Ambulance program that we take our little robotic ambulance into the grade schools and we talk to the kids. We talk about accessing 911. We talk about what it is to recognize an emergency should a family member be sick, never to be afraid to call. And we do those things jointly with the fire department on many things. We've done standbys for the Dolton Bears, the Dolton Park District. We've done high school events on short-term notice. Those we just do because we're partners with you. We're Dolton, we're part of you. This is our home, this is who we are. We teach emergency medical service training programs in our building. We offer continuing education for EMTs and for some paramedic level classes at our building. The firemen come over on duty to our building sometimes and complete some of their training stuff when they need extra hours. We work with them. We do CPR trainings and recertifications, and we're open that to the community and the public as a whole. We've been called to about 5 or 6 block parties this year on a minute's notice where somebody calls and says, hey, there's a big block party over here. You think we can get an ambulance over and show them what a paramedic unit is? That's what we do. Never a question. The ambulance prices that we talked about were 2-tiered. So we gave the program of branded ambulances for the village of Dolton, and we talked about revenue sharing, which Mr. Urban kind of indicated to us was something the village was interested in, and we talked about it. We know that every time we run an ambulance call in this village, about 34% of the time we're going to have a refusal, which means a no transport. So the retainer that you pay for us, I'm sorry, we're doing the branded ambulance portion.
We're done.
So that ambulance is, go ahead.
So 2 ambulances would be $340,000. We have a revenue that we know what we're collecting and what we should be collecting. I really don't want to release those numbers now because that is proprietary information for us. We will discuss it with the board in another meeting, all right, with the public and everything. But that $340,000.
But to that end, there'd be full disclosure. We have no numbers to hide to the village because we share our service with other communities, as it was explained earlier, and that we use the resources. We're able to do a lot more with less and provide service to everyone. Matter of fact, there was conversation earlier about mutual aid. We back up Calumet City, South Holland. We've been into Oak Forest on the Expressway, Homewood Fire Department with Glenwood, all the Lansing Fire Department and Mavis Box Alarms. We've backed all them up more than we've ever called for assistance. I can think of 2 times in a year that we actually called for an EMS box, Chief, am I wrong? Where we had to bring people in from outside. And in the one situation with the 10 patients, we transported 7 of them ourselves, and they were all critical patients till the outside agencies could get here 10, 12 minutes later to help us assist on a major catastrophe. But we participate in that. We have a supervisor on duty 24 hours a day. That he operates a vehicle that's complete with a triage system, where we can set up a mobile field hospital, where we can tag and identify patients, where we can work with the firemen on the scene in the command structure and work with them to make sure that we can handle the most. We're prepared to handle a disaster, God forbid, at the high school or grade school. We dealt with an explosion at Safety Clean when it was McKesson Chemical many years ago and blew every window out of the valley and half the side of town. We can do those things. When the nursing home had its major incident of power failure and flood, how many patients did we move out of that place and secure just the locations in town, like moving them to the Dorchester and getting them to the village hall because it was freezing? We just did all that. We don't get paid for that. We don't get paid for no transports. If we respond to the scene and the patient's a refusal or the patient's gone, that's on us. That's why we charge the retainer in the second rate that Tom's going to talk about.
That is where we provide 2 advanced life support units, as we're doing right now. And with the annual cost is $178,320. And that's all you have to worry about. Nothing else.
And I don't think there's been a time that 2 ambulances ever been a problem, let alone giving you 3 or 4 when you need them. And Dolton has a history of when it has 1 or 2 calls, once it gets busy, it gets busy. It all happens at one time. Tomorrow, or 10 hours later, it might be down the street in Riverdale where they're going to have 5 calls in 20 minutes. But it works. Also, the one thing that we do is we use a plan called System Status Management. In that plan, that means we operate more like the police than the fire department. Our ambulances are on the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, other than us coming out of the garage in the case of an emergency as a backup. Our people are out there patrolling an area. As calls happen, sectors get rotated, cars get put into different locations. We don't come out of the fire stations. We don't come out of sleeping quarters. We have no out-of-shoot times. Average out-of-shoot times are in excess of a minute from the time the bell goes off to the time that car is in drive leaving out of the garage. We cut our response times by a minute with a faster response to the patient, which improves survivability and patient outcomes long-term, because as somebody stops breathing, we know within 6 minutes we got to start perfusing that brain. We've got to start getting oxygen and air into that patient. We've got to start pumping on their chest and moving that blood around. Every minute counts. Our average response